Hi everyone, my name is Bailey. I am creating this video as a part of my final project in ETAT 802. Myself and a classmate, Jolene, wanted to focus on constructivism in the classroom for our final project. This is an area that we both felt passionate about, and we see the impact on student learning and engagement and just that sense of belonging in our classrooms. So I set a bit of a challenge for myself to create this video, and I thought about a unit or lesson that I really think could have been more successful. And so for me, it came to product photography in my Photography 20 class. Students always got very excited about it and they wanted to jump in, and the engagement was definitely there. However, I always found that they weren't identifying and spending the time on target market. So identifying who the product is for and really dialing in on the colors used, on the fonts and the logos, placement and the persuasion techniques, it's all encompassing, and I feel that students were really missing that. So I wanted to redo this unit by applying the 5E model. And so I'm going to share in this video what that looked like and explain a little bit further what the 5E model is and how it played out in my product photography intro section. A very helpful resource that I found when setting up this unit was our planning sheet that's available surrounding the 5E model. So it breaks down the 5 different steps, and it has us identify, prior to going into this, the activity that we're using, what are the student actions that we're looking for, what's our role as the teacher, because a lot of these steps, we really should take a step back and let students explore and collaborate and support one another and have those conversations and answer each other's questions. We're there to guide it if it gets a little bit off track, but definitely noting that our role needs to change in each of these steps is really important. And I sometimes forget to do that. So when I make note of it ahead of time, I find it really helps. And then it gets into the evidence of learning and any other notes that we should make while having it. Maybe materials that we need to make photocopies for. So I hope that you guys find this helpful as well. The 5E model is engage, explore, explain, extend, elaborate, and evaluate. So the first stage, being a part of the engage, is really about engaging your students, also known as maybe your motivational set, but really being purposeful for getting their attention and setting up what's to come. So we call this the anchoring phenomenon, and in this specific lesson, I chose to use a TikTok with my students. So I played a TikTok of a really cool product photography setup where a photographer was actually using a cell phone, which was very engaging for every student that has a cell phone in my class, and had a very simplified setup, but she took a photo of male cologne versus female jewelry. And the two TikToks played really well together. It sparked a lot of conversation. And then students were able to talk about what they noticed with the setup, seeing the images in the end, how did they compare, what could we compare and contrast between the two, and then what similarities could we really pull out of it. So we put on our product photography hats and tried to really pull out some of that prior knowledge that we already had. And I just let the conversation unfold. So I was still a part of it, and I kind of helped guide it in the direction that I wanted it to go. But I wanted the students to be engaged in those conversations to take place between one another. So with that opening, I then brought out a bin of products. So they're all kind of within the same category, or would be the same target market. And what I wanted was students to really be a part of this process together when it came to the next stage, which was explore. But I wanted them all to have their own piece. And the reason for this was that I didn't want some students to take the back seat and allow others who are more confident in this area to run with their ideas. So they're still able to collaborate and work together, but they still have their own product to guide them in their research and understanding. So I gave them each their own product. There's a variety of different types here. and they all had kind of a conversation around them. Some of them had no idea what these products were. Some of them had an idea, you know, looking at the title on them and asking questions, trying to think about, like, you know, who it could be for. Who are these products for? So we had a lot of questions happening and a lot of discussions happening, and I think students at this point now are ready for the next stage, which is explore. So with the explore stage, students are now expected to go in to do a little bit of research. So they jumped on the computers and they were exploring what is the product now. So answering the questions of what is this product that they're looking at, what marketing techniques have they used online in their marketing, and who are they trying to sell this product to. So again, coming back to who is the target market that this is trying to be sold to. So students were to find an advertisement online that really they felt was very effective. So again, I'm not playing a huge role. So the teacher is sort of, you know, there if needed, but the students are having the conversation still, exploring a little bit deeper, sharing a little bit about what they know, but that comes kind of next in the explain stage, but gathering more information to wrap their head around who's the target market, how do they create that advertisement, have it collected with them. We use Google Docs and get ready to share that out in the next stage. Okay, so now with the explain stage, this is again the student's role. So I am there, I'm a bit more of the facilitator at this point, but students are now sharing out. So we're back in the classroom, I have their Google Docs projected up on the screen, and they're sharing out what they found. So they're explaining what they learned through this process. And they get to dive a little bit deeper. So there are some materials supplied by me to kind of guide that learning. At this point, I brought out, you know, our analyzing advertisements assignment where we talk about pathos, logos, and ethos, those persuasion techniques that marketing uses in their advertisements to connect with the viewer in that target market. So I have guided a little bit further. I've introduced some new learning at this stage, but again, it's really centered around students providing and explaining what they learned and showing the product photography piece that they felt was most effective, that marketing piece. So part of the extend and elaborate phase of the 5E model, now students are getting into the position of creating that product. So they're taking all the information that they've gained through the first 3 stages, the engage, explore, explain stage, and now they should have the confidence to create an advertisement around this product. And again, this seems a bit scripted, but there is a lot of flexibility for the students, and they are gearing up to create a big project in the end where they are choosing their own product photography. So with the advertisements that they found that they felt were strong examples, they're able to go through and ask all the questions about, you know, target market, persuasion techniques, setup, and then from that plan out how they're going to create their own product photography that's similar in nature to learn through that process. And there are a lot of questions that still come up in the extend and elaborate stage. Maybe students aren't quite sure how to position the lights properly to get a certain effect. Or maybe there's a certain prop that they need to have, or how to position something to really catch the light a certain way. And then all of their knowledge surrounding handling the camera comes into place. So students are working together, and I am now taking that role of helping them where needed and guiding them to make sure that they're successful in this stage. Once they have completed their shoot, students are taking those shots and they are editing and enhancing, and we're doing this in a quicker nature than what we would do for their big final project, but just to gain the experience and the confidence to do this later on down the road. So concluding the extend and elaborate stage, students are taking their final products that they have created, and we have created a share slide document in our Google Classroom, and they each get their own slide where they entered in their JPEG of their own creation that they made around this product with the influence and inspiration of their research that went into it. So students shared out in a bit of a critique manner with the class. So projected their image, talked about the struggles that we have. We used the tag method. So students were able to engage in the conversation. By T stands for tell them something that you really like about their product that they're showing. A is ask a question, and G is give some advice of what they could have done to enhance that. So using the tag method in our critique, students are gaining more direction as to where they could have gone or what they've learned from this process, and they're also sharing what they are really proud of and different setups that they use that they felt were really successful. And we have that conversation again. Did they hit that target market? Does this advertisement show that this is the target market that they're trying to reach? So we reflect back on the research that we've done and apply it, and students can have, again, that conversation around it if they felt like it was successful. In terms of the evaluate, which is the last stage, there's a lot of formative assessment that's happening throughout this process. How I had the evaluation in the class was I had a rubric that students had access to before that reflected back on our research questions that we had formulated. And we were able to have open discussion around that. So very formative in this case. And the evaluate is a little bit heavier, I should say, when it comes to their big final projects. Now reflecting on the process that I took through the 5E model, and that's the constructivist approach, really being intentional on my teaching with this, I would have to say I'm incredibly excited and reassured with the results that I got from my students. Their work was a lot more thorough. They took more time in the planning process. And instead of just grabbing a product that they liked, like, a new pair of shoes they just bought, or a basketball, or something very typical that happens to be on them or with them, they were much more intentional with choosing it and did a lot deeper of a research process to make sure that they were setting themselves up for understanding that end result, the target market. Are they reaching those goals, and how do they know that? So a lot more thorough of a process, and I definitely am going to go about teaching this way in the future. I hope this was informative, and I hope that you can use the resources that we provided as well and see how you are already using constructivism in your classroom, but maybe be a bit more intentional and allowing it to happen more so than you have been. Thank you.